I welcome everyone to my channel. And again, stories from life. A novel that will change your life. Martha Shields' right pointing arrow, hope for happiness. Jay took his right hand and Sarah took his left. Everyone bowed their heads. Fabulous. And what to say? Perhaps, he decided, on Thanksgiving Day one should say a prayer of thanksgiving. Thank you, Lord, for the food that you sent us to the table, and for the fact that the whole family gathered around it. Amen. He looked up at Claire. She smiled at him and nodded slightly. Well, who will be the first to start this year? Hank asked. What else? Another tradition? Can't these people just eat in peace? I, Sarah screamed. Well, Cricket, tell me, what are you grateful for? Her father told her. For the pony you promised to give me for Christmas, the little girl announced happily. Don't you think it's too early to be thankful for this, Sarah? Alex asked her daughter. Anyway, you can't skate by yourself until you're 4, JJ said. I'm almost 4. No, not nearly, Matt said. Sarah can be thankful for anything, Hank said firmly. Who is next? Come in my direction, Alex said, noticing the horror in Jake's eyes. I thank you for my family and for its new member. Welcome, Jake. He smiled back. Thank you. By the way, while we're talking, you can carve the turkey, Alex added softly. Rejoicing at the opportunity to do something, he grabbed a knife and set to work. Hank continued. I am also grateful for my family and for the fact that I can do what I love. It's Claire's turn. I am grateful for a job where I can finally apply what I learned in college and for my husband who gave me this job. Jake, holding a half-cut turkey leg in his hand, looked up at her. Genuine feelings shone in her bottomless blue eyes. What is love, or gratitude? Will he ever understand the difference? Your turn, Uncle Jake, JJ said. Jake struggled back to reality and realized that he had listened to what everyone else was talking about. But he knew perfectly well what he would say himself, the pure truth. I am grateful to have met Claire, who gave my life a new meaning, and also to be in such a wonderful family. After his words, everyone reached for food. Everyone but him and Claire. Their eyes never left each other, but in those glances there were more questions than answers. While Travis was telling the story of how his father caught him smoking a cigarette in the back of the stable, Jake sat on the couch and rested Sarah's sleeping head on his lap. The girl murmured something sleepily, but did not even open her eyes. Let me take her upstairs, Claire suggested in a whisper. Jake shook his head. No need. Everything is fine. He did not want to disturb the family unity in the room. After the festive dinner, the whole family moved into the living room. Children settled on the floor, and adults, on the sofa and armchairs. Claire sat next to Jake, hugging his shoulders, listening to the Edens' stories about their childhood on a Wyoming ranch. Jake found himself thinking that their life was the life he had always dreamed of. A life where love and support reign without reservations, conditions, and disputes. And because these people so easily accepted him into their circle, his heart seemed to become 10 times larger and was ready to contain the whole world. What did he do to deserve this friendship? Trust, love, finally? He only married Claire, and because of this, they now have to pretend to be in love. What would happen if Eden knew that he married Claire only for the sake of the child? Now he understood why Claire was so worried. She was afraid of losing their respect, destroying the beautiful illusion they had created. Now, surrounded by all this love, he understood everything to the end. Jake wanted to become what he was considered to be, an honest man, a good son-in-law, a loving husband. The last one was the hardest, or the easiest. In those 2 days, he noticed that he was acting with Claire exactly like Hank was with Alex. And the feelings Hank had for his wife were no different from Jake's feelings for Claire. He wanted to protect her, do everything for her happiness, know everything about her and never part with her. One day Claire asked what would happen if she didn't get pregnant. Then he did not find what to answer. Now Jake knew the answer. It doesn't matter if they have children. He will leave the ranch to his nephews and niece. They are now his family. Does it matter that they don't have the last name Anderson? Jake only wanted Claire to be with him always. Does this mean he loves her? He was almost sure, but would Claire have enough love? His love was never enough to keep anyone. He loved his mother, but she left him. He thought he loved Melissa, but she left him. He loved his father, but he pushed him away. For some reason, no one has yet responded to Jake's love. Jake turned his head slowly and met his wife's gaze. There was a question in her eyes too. He pulled her to him and kissed her softly. Claire flinched as she heard the door creak behind her, but she didn't even have to turn around to see who it was. A shiver ran down her spine, the way it always did when Jay approached. Some kind of telepathy. He sat down on the railing next to her and wrapped his arms around her waist. Whispered in my ear, "Couldn't stand the stories?" She nodded and leaned against him. "My family is sometimes difficult to bear in large numbers. I'd ask how you're holding up, but you seem to like them." Jake laughed and pulled her close to him. "I really like them. I just want to be alone with you for a while. You did very well lending the bull to Hank. He is happy as a calf." Jake kissed her temple. I was also pleased. They watched silently as the stars lit up in the inky black sky. Claire often yearned for this sky and stars in the city, and Jake's arms generally seemed to her like heaven on earth. "Looks like your plan worked," Jake said softly. "Your family seems to be sure that we are madly in love." Those words stabbed into her heart like a sharp knife. So he doesn't love her, and gentle treatment is just a performance. She began to hope. "Claire?" She blinked away the tears in her eyes and tried to answer in a flat voice. "Yes, we convinced them. You are a good actor, Jake. You even fooled me for 2 minutes." He made her turn and look into her eyes. "We need to talk, my angel." Hey, you two." Travis's voice boomed from behind them. "You're already married. You can save your tenderness for later." Jake almost growled. Is it forbidden for a husband to be alone with his wife? But why? Travis's lips parted in a smile from ear to ear. "That's what bedrooms are for." "For God's sake." "Travis," Claire hissed. "I thought you were watching football," Jake said. "I'm watching. But Sarah has already said goodbye to everyone before going to bed. And she lacks only, Uncle Jake. Alex sent me for you." Jake shook his head with a smile. He clearly adored Hank's children. Claire thought sadly that he could treat his own wife the same way. He stroked her cheek. "I'll be right back. Don't leave." Claire shrugged. "Where am I going?" He kissed her and went into the house. Stretching, Travis leaned against the railing. "Yes, you finally found yourself a good guy." "Yes, you finally found yourself a good guy." Claire smiled sadly as she looked at the door where Jake had just disappeared. "You think so? I used to think that only Hank had a happy family life. And I was about to give up on you, but you did a great job." Claire knew her brother better than anyone, and she caught the sadness behind the half-joking tone. Taking his hand, she said softly, "Telling you that you too will someday find your happiness is useless, especially when you feel lonely. But I know that it will be so." Her brother kissed the top of her head. "I am 32 years old, and 360 days a year I spend on the road." "But that's exactly how you found Cheryl Ann." Cheryl Ann Varn was a writer that Travis had been engaged to years before, until he caught her with another. Travis snorted. "Yes, and you saw how it ended. She wanted me because I'm the $1 million cowboy with $1 million in my pocket. When will I meet a woman who needs me myself, and not my victories in TV interviews?" Claire sighed. "It will happen when you least expect it. Hope you meet someone soon. You deserve happiness as much as I do." Chapter 10. Standing in the middle of a small car park store, Mrs. Warren shook Claire's hand with feeling. Well, it's time for me to run. It was a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Anderson. Maybe at least now Jake will spend more time at home. Take care of it yourself. Okay, I'll try, Mrs. Warren, Claire said. Nice to meet you. Alex came over. Do you understand now how proud Jake is of his young wife? This is the 7th person who has met you today. Jake is probably running around town right now telling everyone about you. Claire smiled involuntarily as she imagined Jake, the head of Pony Investments, running around town. Although during the month that they lived together, Jake had long ceased to be just a successful entrepreneur for her. He's just explaining what he's doing around 3 kids. By the way, where did they go? You can't go for ice cream for an hour. Alex took her shopping bag from the cart and put it in the car. They must have met someone and are chatting. I don't understand why he even needed to come with us. Does he think women can't drive? I was already afraid that he would come with us. It was not enough for me to explain to the whole store why I need a pregnancy test. Men love to go to the city just as much as women do. Claire raised her eyes to the sky. Don't forget that this man lives in Denver. Yes, that's right. I forgot. Maybe he just doesn't want to leave you for long. Yes, here they are. Claire put the last bag in the Jeep, the one with the pregnancy test securely hidden in the bottom, and turned to see Jake surrounded by 3 children. Why hadn't she noticed before that he had a cowboy walk? Or is it because he traded expensive Italian shoes for plain shoes? Seeing Alex, Matt ran up to her. Mom, look. Uncle Jake bought us all new shoes. With these words, the boy proudly put forward one foot in a bright blue boot with red, yellow and green arrows on the side. Sarah was wearing red boots with snowflakes, and JJ was wearing solid dark brown ones. My God, Alex exclaimed. Is it already Christmas? Sarah shook her head. Uncle Jake said there would be even more presents for Christmas. To be continued. If you liked the video, subscribe to my channel and press the bell to nothing don't miss.